work on the Infernal Bruiser. I did end up deciding to pin the plasma pistol. Not so much for when I'm actually painting or working on it, more so that I can work on all sides of it and then pin it in the stand, put it in the stand to let it dry, because I don't want to have to paint half the side, let that dry, turn it over, paint half the side, let that dry. It just slows everything down. So that's why I have pinned it. Now I'm just using once again some Montmartre color to color block an area. This time the actual driver, would you say? I guess the creature, the monster, the driver. I'm going to go with driver of this vehicle. It's not really a vehicle though, it's more him and he's outfitted. But anyway, regardless, the skin tone. So this is just a Montmartre colour and it's not the final colour, the same as the red is not the final colour. With especially with models this size, there's very, very little point in using fancy model paints like my AK or my Vallejo at the start. And it has absolutely nothing to do with money, like it's not been scrimpy or anything like that. It's more the fact that there's such a large surface area and pretty much everything needs two coats, right, with these sort of model paints. Some stuff doesn't, some needs a lot more, especially if you're getting into transparents and things like that. Some needs white first. Like these areas are going to be a bright blue of the plasma, like a glowing area, and to do that you definitely need white first. Where the skulls and the heat vents are, same sort of thing. To get a really nice almost fluorescent sort of red or very bright kind of red, you have to really put down white first. So the tentacles, not so much. It's going to be a brown sort of color. And this is actually lighter probably than the brown will end up being. And then once the skin is done, I will probably black or very dark brown dry brush it all anyway. Because the end creature, like skin tone, is going to be very, very dirty, almost like roll around in the mud sort of dirty. So but my point is that there's no advantage in doing your first coat in modeling paint. So my last coat will probably be still Montmartre for some of these if there's a color which is good and close enough, but for a lot of them it will end up with like a AK or a Vallejo model paints. But for the starting coats, for like the white and then the skin tone, more than happy to get an approximation in the same sort of color tones, so like red for the reds and brown for the browns, in a pretty cheap craft acrylic paint, which comes in, like big tubes, and you just squeeze it out and use as much of it as you want. And then you just go over it when you're ready with the final color tone. That's basically my pattern for doing these sort of large scale models, and I find that that works way better than trying to use little dropper bottles and use your Vallejo model colors or whatever, because yeah, you run out real quickly doing it that way. the first the first coat especially uses a lot more paint. It's kind of soaking in. Yeah, I guess it's not really soaking in, not like timber. With timber, it definitely does soak in. But anyway, it's definitely getting the area in the right shadings and tones for the final product. Alright, that's all the skin area on that model. With the talon, I'm going to leave that as is. You're not going to see any actual skin on that talon. So I'll move that around. Now, with the size of this model, how are you going to see that? That is not going to work at all. Alright, so basically what I'm going to be doing is working on the face and the tentacles, but this model is so big it's not going to be possible for me to video that and show it to you. So what I'll probably end up doing is just doing an iPhone more close up to give you an idea once I've done it. So we will leave it there for now. What the problem was, somehow I must have bumped my main webcam and it was way off where it should be, because I was like, why can't I record any of this? That makes no sense. But yeah, it turned out it was an issue with the location of the webcam, so I can record some of this after all. With color blocking, as the name implies, it's just a rough and ready kind of prep of the area. So like these parts that are kind of metallic dials going through the skull, I know that I haven't decided what colour they'll end up being, but I know they'll end up being a metallic colour, so they're not going to be the brown, but there's no issues with colouring them brown first and then making them a bronze or whatever. So it's the same kind of even if I went for like a gunmetal or something like that, it still would have no issues whatsoever. The only issues you'd have is if you went like painted them black, for example, which is also why I don't use a lot of black primer. But Bubbles, you say, this is obviously primed in black, and I would have heard me say, if you've heard some of my prior videos, that I don't prime a lot in black, and that is very true, especially for like 35mm scale, for like very small figurines and that. I don't like priming in black, even though I know it's very popular for model painters to prime in black. I prefer a grey colour, but in this particular case I did think black was a good idea. And one of the reasons why, just to get off painting for a second, but the talons kind of show you a good example of this, is it creates really deep shadows. So now I will be painting these crack areas actual black is the plan. That's not the final silver, by the way. That's once again just the color blocking. But yes, the obviously the black creates really deep shadows. So in this particular case, because especially his skin tone is going to end up being a very dark dark model, so very happy to have the black there as the primer. Plus I had some black primer and I don't really use it that much because I only use the grey. So yeah, I was like, yeah, it's a big model, a lot of primer used, so I'll use that black one that I bought a while ago. And just sits there on the shelf. So this metallic area is all predominantly going to be a blue colour, rather than painted in like a metal sort of finish. Gonna have it more like a stylized military equipment, maybe even put a few chevrons and some symbols, just, you know, probably use like AI to make something up. I don't want to infringe on any copyright issues or anything like that, but I've started working on the eyes of the blooded skulls. So the idea with them is that they are going to have like black eye sockets, so bloody skulls, and kind of lifeless black behind it should make it stand out, the eyes. So what I've done is I've cut to like a stump sort of length my brush, so it's really small, so it's not hopefully going to go everywhere I don't want it to go. So, you know, obviously you only do this with cheapy brushes, and I have a lot of those. So in this one I'll just kind of set aside for this sort of work, but the idea is that it's not going to go too much around the socket, because of course this is at scale, because there are 2 shoulder pads and then there's the actual shoulders of the Bruiser himself. So there's a heck of a lot of skulls, so lots of eye sockets. So I'm doing it now, even though I've just done one coat with the skulls, because that red isn't the final red, the final colour. So I figured it was best to do the black sockets now, and then when I go over anyway to do the second coat of the skulls, obviously there'll be a little bit of touch-up work still required around the face and the skull. So the red I am going to finish with will be more of a blood sort of colour, which is a very different red to what will end up being on the actual plasma parts itself, because those parts are red because of heat, whereas the skulls are, yeah, like a blood effect, so it will be a different colour. Obviously I'm not going to record me doing this on every skull for the shoulder pads and the shoulders, because I think that would be a little bit tedious to watch by the end of it, but just wanted to do one of them to give you an idea on how things are going. Once again, not the final red, will tidy up around the eyes, but that gives you a bit of a rough idea as to how the eye sockets will look. Of course, you know, the blue will be much darker as well and dirtier when I'm finished, so it will bring that tone down as well. Like basically that armor blue is as bright as it's ever going to be. It's only going to get darker from here. So we're going to work on the plasma gun. The base metal is going to be Game Color Dark Gunmetal, which is about the darkest grey metallic that I have, but it's also an awesome colour. So when I do a lot of military vehicles like tanks and rifles and things like that, this is one of the kind of main colours that I use. I also use what they call gunmetal, so not dark gunmetal, and find that the two contrast one another just enough to work pretty well. So when you paint it, it doesn't always kind of like stand out when you're painting it, but then later on you kind of look at it between the difference of like the color blocking with the silver and get a better overview of the dark gunmetal. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually a pretty good color. Does kind of do what I want it to, so that's nice. The areas around where the plasma glow will be purposely left, like not painting all the way up to the edge there. That's because they will hopefully look like a nice white and blue glow rather than looking like the gunmetal colour itself. So it's by design that I'm not painting the gunmetal colour there. So like here, for example, that's metal, but it's seeing so much glow is the idea, the impression that you're trying to give at least. Same here around the heat vents and around the tips of the edge of the gun. So yes, just want to give that impression of radiating heat. I had missed a spot, I just noticed then. This blue, by the way, is just the colour block. In a sense, it is the final blue, though. It is the final colour, but I'm going to be doing a lot of like texture effects to the colour, so it should look a lot darker when I'm finished with it. Kind of look at it now, and it looks very much like a kind of like a Marvel cartoon, like that cartoony style brightness, which is not really what you want for a big scary kind of creature. You want it to look more dark and grungy. So I left those two pipes and that circular bit and these circular bits here purposely untouched by the gunmetal, so they will be a different colour. Haven't decided on the final colour, but it will be like a goldish sort of tone, not gold, but like a brass or bronze or copper, probably maybe leaning towards the copper side of things. I did have a bit of a look. I'm not sure if a plasma gun actually exists or if they're just something that lives in like fantasy kind of genres and that. But anyway, I did a Google image search and a lot of them were just like black with a little bit of color, and I'm like, well, that's not very interesting at all. I'm definitely not doing that. But anyway, some of them were kind of more like vintage plasma guns, like designed to look like they were a bit old and maybe kind of home built, backyard sort of built. And they had some nice copper coils and parts. Now this design doesn't have coils, but it does yeah, have these kind of features which I think will just work well if I paint them a different color, just give them a little bit of variation, because I do want this gun to kind of have multiple different color palettes, so it's a bit more interesting than just a straight one color monotone plus a glow from the plasma. I haven't really committed myself yet to the blue plasma. With the stuff that I've done in the past, I always do blue, but there's so much blue in this model, and you look at the photos and you do see a lot of green plasma guns as well, but I'm like, oh, I know I've got a lot of blue to my model, but it will be a different sort of colour blue, a much closer to white for a start. And it's just what I tend to do. It's more me. So, like if you do have the small model close by, which I've done previously, even though I've ended up with a very different colour palette than this, but you just see so much more detail on this model. But even that had like light blue, glowy kind of look. And not that you can see it here on this kind of scale, but there is a bit of blue on his leg as well. Like the idea is it's reflecting the light of the plasma. I thought it looked cool. I saw that on YouTube. Someone had done that, like a plasma gun, and I think they had it on their chest or whatever, based on where the reflection was, and I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. So and the tanks at the back will probably be their own unique color, which I'm thinking may actually be like a silver, like a nice higher polished sort of silver color. So yeah, definitely multiple metallic colors involved in this plasma gun. So I have ordered a new camera. Now we'll see how people like it and see how I feel the end result of it is. But I'm not 100% happy with the setup that I have, because it is kind of hard to convey such small detail. So anyway, I've done a bit of research and I've ordered this head-mounted camera. So the idea is that, you know, what I see, it sees, sort of thing. But, well, I don't know. It could end up being a disaster and I don't like it and I don't even use it and you never see anything. Like every time I put paint on my brush, for example, I'm looking at the palette and I'm adding paint. So like is looking to the model, looking to the paint, looking back to the model, even though they're small head movements, thankfully, like, I mean, if I did big head movements, I'm sure that would not, you know, feel good to watch, because you'd sort of like feel like you're being thrown around. But even small movements like that, is that going to be annoying or is it not going to be a big deal? It apparently has like image stabilization and all this fancy sort of tech. I don't remember the name of it, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, so when that turns up, we will give it a bit of a test and see what we think. But you know, ideally, what I would then do is for part of these videos, I would just do it like 100% from the head cam, and you'd basically get an eagle eye sort of view, a bird's eye view of what I do and how it looks to me. So that, I think, you know, would be ideal, firstly, but yeah, just not sure of the practicalities, like all the reviews and stuff like that that I've watched. They were like, you know, people that were walking down a street, or they were on a train and looking at the scenery, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's all fine, but I'm close up looking at something very, very close to me. So will that translate or not? I have no idea. So that is definitely a watch this space sort of thing. And if it doesn't work out, not the end of the world, no harm, no foul, but I thought I would give it a try, because, you know, obviously I want my YouTube watchers to get the best experience possible and to actually see the detail on what I'm doing. Several times now I've kind of like, with my main camera, I like head butt it and it moves it. And the camera which I think does the absolute least of it, which is this one to the side here, because I'm constantly getting paints in and out and there is vibration on the desk and stuff, sometimes that droops, and I have had a few videos where it's been kind of like more pointing down towards the desk and not pointing at what I'm actually painting and working on. So, you know, I haven't had any like nasty comments from anyone about that, but I'm assuming that some people that have watched that weren't overly impressed by that. But yeah, thankfully it's not the main camera, and I may end up jiggling stuff around, rejigging it, and doing away with that particular camera altogether if things work out well with this head mounted one. One of the slight concerns that I have about it though is like the main video, I wish I could remember the name of this darn thing, but until it turns up, I guess it's not imprinted on my mind yet. He was walking through some field and you could see the corner of his glass, just a little bit of the corner of the glass. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's fine in a big field like what you're showing me, but if I'm focusing in, you know, on something, having something like part of my glasses, and unfortunately I do need to wear my glasses to paint. You know, it would be easier just, well, we'll take them off. Well, then I'm just going to get stuff everywhere because, yeah, this is detail painting, and I need to see well, and to see well, I need my glasses. It's as simple as that. Alrighty, well, that is pretty much, unless I've missed any spots, it's always possible, but that is pretty much the areas where I need to paint this. Oh, I've forgotten any areas in here. No, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, so like a copper will be those tubes which run around to the other side, there and there. And these cylinders, which already look silvery, will stay silvery. I'll just give them a nicer silver finish. But once I get the metals done, then I can start working on the glow effect, which is the cool, fun part, plus the heat vents as well. So yeah, get on to the more cool stuff, but I just wanted to get the base metal out of the way.